Mother-in-law told husband to leave me at home 33 weeks pregnant and just call an ambulance if I go into labor. Looking for advice, cross-posted from my bumper group. It is my belief my mother-in-law is superficially nice and sees me as nothing more than an incubator. My mother-in-law who's continually pressured us to drive 3.5 hours round trip to see my husband's grandma who is 93. For some background, we flew to see them last summer BC. We lived 10 hours away. That was our family vacation and cost around $3,000 for a very lame destination. We were also there end of May and husband made plans for both his grandmas to see toddler. 93-year-old grandma hadn't been showering, she needs a home health aide but refuses, so didn't show up. We moved mid-July and are now 6 to 6.5 hours closer. Our house is still in boxes and I'm 31 weeks pregnant with our second. I work full-time with part-time childcare and do majority of the housework and household management. My husband works 12 to 14-hour days. Yesterday we drove 2.5 hours round trip to see husband's sister BC. She was in from out of town. Mother-in-law had pressured us to come this weekend but sister has her large untrained dogs who have previously peed in our bed, climb all over you, jump, and are untrained. Husband didn't want to deal with that on top of paying $350, that we don't have, to board our dogs. While visiting the in-laws, mother-in-law makes a comment on how 93-year-old grandma keeps asking when husband and toddler are going to visit. Husband says that's a long drive with a pregnant wife. Mill says to just leave me at home. Later proceeds to tell husband if I go into labor I can just call an ambulance. Comment rubbed husband wrong, as it should, but now we're debating if we try to see said grandma or not. The next time we could go see her I'd be 33 weeks pregnant. She's refused to see people before due to not feeling up to it, so we could do the whole drive and it's for nothing. I've told DH I will not be traveling with an infant and am not open to going there until beginning of next summer. I also feel like if we go it's capitulating to his mom who's made it crystal clear she doesn't care about me or the work I do. Husband is upset and wants to talk to his mom but I don't know if there's a point. I'd already come to the conclusion she doesn't care about me, she's made other idiotic rude comments, but I think this one finally got my husband to see it so he's struggling there. Don't know if we should give his grandma one more opportunity, he should talk to his mom, or we just ignore it. She's nice to my face and is a decent grandma but so obviously overlooks everything I do it's comical, like working a full-time STEM job, all household tasks etc. Comment. It doesn't sound as if either of you have talked to his grandmother. What does she really say and think? Because I doubt it's anything like what your mill is saying. Stop listening to third-party reports. Stop holding conversations about them. Your mill is an interfering drama queen who is trying to control your husband and separate him from you, to get him into the habit of putting her and her demands before putting you, his wife, and your needs secondary to her entitled. Sard your Jane Mill. Disrespect the parent, never see the children. As others are saying here, there are lots of electronic means to visit her virtually, if that is what she wants. Your health and safety are more important than anything else want. Take care of yourself, get to know new low, then decide if the JNS have behaved well enough to deserve a visit. Keep working on DH's spine. This, my friend, is where you put in rigid boundaries. Your mill just showed her true colors. Tell your husband that when the new baby is walking he can take both children to see his side of the family but you are done. Anyone who can say just call an ambulance is someone who doesn't deserve your attention. But you need your husband to see and understand how poorly she's treating you and that he has to choose to support you. I was recovering from major surgery and wasn't allowed in a vehicle unless it was to a doctor's visit. My kids were preschoolers. Mill told DH that she was expecting us for Thanksgiving. He told her we couldn't make the 8-hour trek to see her because of my surgery. Her response, Thanksgiving is about family. You and the kids need to come to me. Leave her behind. This was actually the straw that broke my husband's back. For 4-ish years he'd been putting up with how she treated me, but this time it really hit him in the face. He finally grew a sum and protected me from his mother. I can relate, but most importantly the advice, you are in a good position since your husband is seeing the light. Use it to your advantage and say y'all can visit next summer like you suggested. Meanwhile y'all can FaceTime or chat on the phone. I'm glad your husband respects you. Mill is definitely inconsiderate and rude. We live with my in-laws temporarily, and Mill also acts nice to my face when other people are around, but when it's just the two of us she doesn't bother talking to me. Due to this mixed with the lack of respect I get for how I live differently, healthfully and sanitary, and how she gets too excited about the idea of us having kids, I also believe my mill thinks I'm an incubator. She actually has referred to my BIL kids as her kids, her babies, even if it's a cultural thing. She is Mexican, it doesn't sit well because they will be my children and Mill doesn't even care about my wishes. She told me once before I moved in that there are a lot of things I care about that don't matter. Can you believe that? I told her what I care about does matter, and if I am upset about anything, those are my feelings which don't alter the relationships I'm in. I can't wait to move away. You tried to see 93-year-old grandma last year, but she refused because she hadn't showered. That's not your problem. She must not care that bad about seeing you if you were literally there and she said no. Mill can bring grandma to you. It's safer for a 93-year-old to travel than a heavily pregnant woman. And a lot of people will say that 33 weeks isn't that close to delivery and it's fine. But that's false. You need to be near your doctor and your hospital. Let me tell you about my own experience. My cousin got married in Vegas about 10 years ago. I live in South Carolina. I RSVP'd no to the wedding, because I would be 32 weeks pregnant at the time. My family was pissed at me. I didn't care and my decision was final. On the day I would have flown to Vegas, I went into premature labor. If I had gone to Vegas, I could have had the baby on the plane and she would have died. I would have had her in Vegas and we would have had to stay there for the month she was in the NICU. I would have had to stay alone, because my husband would have had to go home to SC to take care of our oldest daughter. Next story 2. What do you do if you have a Jane Mill and your kids love her? BC, you foolishly built a relationship with her. My Jane Mill was decent until I married her son and had our baby, and then it's like she switched overnight and has never gone back. Very jealous and weird competitive energy. I was always forgiving. I pushed my husband to be more loving with his mom. Spend more time with her. To show I'm no threat and have no intentions of pulling a child away from their mom. Even if they're an adult. I'm not someone who lives in scarcity mode. My Mill now is still a Jane Mill but looks like more of a mild one. And it's maddening. I feel like I'm trying to nail Jello on a wall, pointing out the shit she does. Shows up late to my birthday dinner at my home with them, makes everyone wait until she eats a second plate of seafood for me to light my birthday cake, tells my son when she sees his fingernails long and unclipped, come here. I'll do that. Nobody takes care of you. Poor my Joe. Or just does shit like if I'm vacuuming my home while she's there. Points her finger down at the ground at a small piece of debris and waves her hands kind of like you would if you were an aunt and had a maid and were bossing them around. She has said small things like, I think you are jealous of the special relationship me and your son have. My son, which not for nothing is actually really close to me, but I didn't kill myself to make that happen. I think it's BC, we both have ODHD. She has just said / done these small / tiny things here and there for years. Where it's not big enough for me to be like, I'm divorcing you to my husband or I'm cutting her off. I'm put in the position of being the bad guy because it's not really a visible thing. The issue is, we lived with her until my oldest was 4. Then we moved away. But only 15 minutes away, as that's near my husband's job. We are in NYC. My kids are now 9, 7, and 4, so the youngest wasn't raised with her. Jane Mill will go through seemingly decent periods and then does those things that make me feel like I'm nailing Jello to a wall. But one thing she does is shows up uninvited without asking permission after my husband spoke to her 8 fucking times and said to stop this year. There's always an excuse and sorry on her part. To him, BC, I'm not present and haven't told her myself. And it's just the little things. I'm an exhausted mom with a special needs child. She blows up our WhatsApp group message and asks if we are home. Or says call her. I do not like fishing questions / requests without knowing what's on the other end. I do not reply, so she calls to. I'm firm on my boundaries, but apparently she knows she can ultimately get around on husband, and this causes us a lot of issues. He went so long after the pandemic sticking up for me, and now we are back to what I feel is just him appeasing mom. He talks to her about the issue, but the issue I'm finding is he is doing a lot of coddling of her feelings, and it doesn't feel like we are united, but rather he's going to soften the blow and, without necessarily coming out and saying anything, putting the onus on me. We have fought non-stop about him talking to her about coming over, and I'm the bitch because each time she does it's with food. She's sorry. She was just going to take the kids off our hands, or she forgot. 8 times in his fucking year alone. If she asks you if you're home in WhatsApp and you don't reply to her immediately, she either blows you up or she comes by because fuck you and everyone. She is the matriarch. This rattles my nervous system and stress levels like no others. I'm tapped out by the number of requests and calls I get from everyone for things I can't avoid, that have to do with my kids' therapies etc., and it truly pisses me off when someone adds more anxiety to your plate. Like you have to hop if she snaps her fingers for an immediate reply. Then there's the other small shit that I feel like I can't point out without looking like I'm crazy and making the big deal, but I'm so sick of seeing this lady and hearing from her, and anytime we accept anything/help, which I barely get any of, it's me doing 98% plus of this shit, juggling the kids. I have it thrown in my face when I uphold a boundary later and I'm told in JNMIL's culture and I'm the bitch. For what it's worth, my own mom is a JNM. My entire family is dysfunctional and narcissistic. The issue is, as my husband likes to throw in my face, his parents do things for us, mainly him and my kids. His mom is not crazy about me and I know it. The little faces, etc. Things I once again can barely point out without looking crazy. And because my family is shit, I must accept when his mom comes over uninvited etc. etc. The issue is, my kids love their grandparents. I don't mind my husband's family mostly. It's the JNMIL who is a real thorn, and absolutely 90% of the reason we've been in counseling for 7 years on/off, and the reason twice I was ready to divorce him. It's like he's dense or doesn't see it. He thinks he's saying the right things, but it annoys me. He doesn't seem annoyed with mom, but there's this slight energy he's more annoyed with me for not accepting it and not understanding the shit she does is just cultural. I don't know what to do in terms of our kids. We don't have much family and I don't want to take that away from them, but I can't stand this woman and regret sharing my children with her so much and fostering this relationship and doing so many family events. There's no awkward way of just avoiding doing family events because your mom pointed her finger in a pompous way at the floor and told me to vacuum a crumb I missed, or your mom keeps coming over univated when I tell her not to. I feel still makes me look like the asshole and like I'm retaliating, and I also don't want to be the prick that takes away more loving family from my own kids, but it just sucks when that loving family has a JNMIL who adores them but not you. Her love skips over to them. I don't know how to navigate this, and now they have a bond with her, and I'm not looking to destroy that. But I am exhausted and miserable having to deal with her, and they live 15 minutes away, so if we decide to just start having holidays and birthdays without them, it really looks like something personal and is a big deal. And Jane Mill is only underhanded to me and amazing to her son, my DH, and the kids and everyone else, but I feel burnt out and like I have high blood pressure being around her. Comment. Mill can't come in unannounced if the door is locked. Somewhat of husband gets mad. You've been over this with him before. Protect your peace. Your home is your safe place. Do not let her invade it uninvited. I wonder if it would help for something like the holidays or even just a regular day at home to disrupt the paradigm. Right now, she has you on your back foot all the time trying to anticipate and defend against her behavior, but if you set the expectation in advance of what is going to happen, that leaves her off balance. For example, the holidays. What if your new tradition is after Thanksgiving dinner you have a new tradition of going to the movies or the park? Christmas tradition now includes driving around to look at the lights, if you have a car, or a Santa crawl where you walk around the neighborhood and count how many Santas you see. Or you invite over some friends after they see their family or who are alone for the holidays, even if she is there. Right now the problem is she is centered. Your husband is centering her comfort, and she is the center of interactions for the family, it sounds like. If you were able to shift things so that changes a little, even just mentally, even with her still around, it might not be so bad. Think about how much happier you would be doing an activity you planned with the kids, or even at home if she is there, if also someone is around, so it isn't just grandma visiting for the grandma show. She is a shitty person and her behavior to you is intentional. It gives her a feeling of power. I think taking your power back will help it bother you less. I think it's time to have a very honest discussion with your husband. Whether in a therapist's office or alone. Tell him the house you live in is your home, and it's supposed to be a safe place. The fact his mother feels comfortable coming over whenever she likes, and then shoots her little microaggressions at you is not okay. You are exhausted by life right now, including a child who needs extra attention, as well as cooking and cleaning with 3 kids. You have every right to be able to relax in your home. And the fact that you can't count on him to protect your peace and set boundaries with actual consequences with his mother's behavior is disrespectful to the woman he married and the mother of his 3 children. And that honestly, you sometimes wonder if you will have to divorce to protect your mental health. And tell him if you don't see a marked improvement in his handling his mother and her blatant disrespect, you will start handling her and you won't be coddling her feelings. Up, you know her coming over after being told no is about exerting control over your household and openly disrespecting you. I hate people who do these stupid little passive-aggressive things. Get a Ring camera. When she shows up, answer through the speaker that it's not a good time and she really should have called first. And don't say anything else. And explain to your kids about boundaries in an age-appropriate way. Because so far all they've seen is being an asshole gets you what you want, and being a bully and a mean girl has zero repercussions. You have been in counseling for 7 years over your husband's enmeshment problem and have considered divorce twice. There is pretty much no chance that this person will not eventually be crazy, controlling, manipulative, critical, and condescending to and around your children. Kids notice everything. They model their behavior after the people around them. Regardless of their bond, you should consider what is truly best, long-term, rather than wanting to avoid disappointing them. Right now, all three are young enough that it's actually possible for you to start to disengage your family from someone who hates you. Your husband is about 5 years overdue for an epiphany. Has he specifically seen a therapist for enmeshment issues? Also, if you've considered divorce twice, I think it's also worth asking yourself how letting them keep building a stronger relationship with her might allow her to have a lot more influence on them in the case that you have to share custody.